So I guess we can start. People will join us eventually, so please, if you hear us, so why I'm talking not only to you, but also to people there, because they hear us. So it's not only for here, but also for there. So we are starting our talk about choosing art. And here are 3 guests. This talk will be held in English. It will last 30 or maybe 45 minutes. Please feel free to come in or go out just as you wish. So we are very happy to see you all. So let me start with introducing our speakers and also introducing myself. But let's start with the speakers. So this is Davies. Debbie is a curator and she's also an artist from New York. She founded Lighthouse Gallery and Project Space in 2016 to connect people through art and strengthen the arts community. So please welcome Debbie. Next to Debbie is Karin. Karin von Hülsen, right? Yes. Yeah, so Karin is a collector. She is the managing director of an educational foundation in Berlin. For more than 20 years, she used to work as a cultural manager in the art sector for artists, international galleries, and collectors. She and her husband have been collecting art since the end of 1990s, but the interesting point is that Karin is slightly unfamiliar with the term collector and wants it to be viewed in a very different way. So let's talk with a collector who doesn't like the word collector today also. So yeah, welcome Karin. And Lena Fediushina, she's a decorator. Lena is an interior decorator, now based in Berlin. She works with all, please feel free to come, please feel free, it's okay. Just come and sit, it's warm here. Lena is an interior decorator, now based in Berlin. She works with already built public and private spaces, helping to make them functional, reflective of personality or idea, and inspiring. Welcome, Lena. So how it will go, I have some questions for our guests, and also I will be happy to hear your questions afterwards, so feel free to think about something, and in the end, if we have time, we will be very happy to talk also with you. So, to all of you, let's start. So, when you personally choose an artwork for yourself, not for a work reason, so what initially draws you to a piece of art and how you decide to buy it?
Hopefully you can hear me. Okay, great. I do collect some pieces from artists, and I remember one time I was on vacation in Iceland and I was going around to galleries because I can't get away from work, and I saw a piece that looked like a caveman. It was by an Icelandic artist, and at the time in my life I was having lots of discussions with women about men and about how all of the women around me were very ambitious and doing things, and the men seemed to be laying back, and we were joking, where are all the cavemen? And I saw this piece and it looked like a caveman, and it really spoke to me, and I purchased it there on vacation. I wasn't planning on buying art, but it really, really moved me. And while I was there, I also went to a museum in Reykjavik, and this same artist had an exhibition in one of the rooms there, so I didn't even know who he was or knew that he was famous or anything like that. It was just that piece spoke to me. And in the gallery at Lighthouse, when I see people drawn to art, it's not because of necessarily the color or the composition, but because there is an emotional attachment that they get to that piece. And I can understand that because that's what happened to me.
Thank you. I love this story. Karin, yeah, if you want to. Okay.
Hi everybody. Well, I love your story, but basically it's pretty much the same. I hear voices, I would say, and I remember the very first piece somebody gave to me. It was a gallery's 1995. I worked for three months in New York, and I was instead of giving me money, he asked me to choose something out of a certain part of his own collection, and it was like I was very touched by a piece. Nobody remembers the name, and it was a figural piece. Actually, I think it was because I was very much cultivated by classical art and like Cézanne or the Impressionists, and I was very much into this art history thing. Actually, I studied art history later on, so I was raised very classical. But it was a contemporary piece that touched me, and it was not abstract, but it went a step further, I would say. So I heard a voice, and the voice said, I want to live with you, and I said, okay, I want to live with you as well. So we started. It's still part of our daily, basically it's a daily dialogue, and that's actually what I love. Living with art and being surrounded by art, it's like a dialogue you have on a daily basis. Sometimes you ignore each other; it's also part of the dialogue. But sometimes you're really spending a minute or time, and we get to it later on. I know it's about connecting and it's sharing history together, and I think that's for me very personally. It's a very, very important part. And that's why I and my husband, we are collecting, but we have to get deeper into that topic later on.
I am not an impulsive buyer, so I have a long list of artists whose art pieces I want to own. And sometimes after 3 years, for example, I realized that it didn't withstand my personal changes, and it leaves then this list. But it's also the main criteria how I then realized that it's worth buying. That if after 3 years I still love it, that it's rather I will still love it next 33 years, and then I buy it. So it's a bit more practical approach, I would say, and analytical. So I prefer to live with an art in first, for example, in my smartphone, then I feel more and more that I really like it to follow artists on social media or whatever, and only then buy it.
Yeah, it's very interesting that usually when you Google how to choose an artwork, usually the first thing is how to invest in an artwork, and usually it's all about like an investment, money-wise, how it costs, how it will grow. But in real life, when I talk with people, and actually I didn't represent myself, but like I also work in the culture and the arts for 7 years or for 8 years already. So when I talk with people, I hear that usually they buy something just based on their emotions because they love it. Maybe it's more long story of love, maybe it's some love from the first sight, but still, this is the most important thing, and all other things usually go next. And that's why we're coming to the next question, to Debbie, to you. So when you consider purchasing art, maybe when you recommend it to someone, or like when you in your shoes of a curator, of the gallery owner. So what do you think? Is it important to know the artist's background, to see the CV of the artist, the way that usually it is told that you need to see the CV, you need to see where the artist participated? And also, do you like to understand what is the position of the artwork in the historical background, maybe the social impact, maybe some political issues, whether they are there or not? So what is your perspective on that?
Thank you. Ever since I opened Lighthouse in 2016, we had a very democratic idea of how to curate shows. We did not want to see CVs, we did not want to see biographies, anything like that. Many times I don't even know what gender the person is. You know, a lot of people with unusual names for me, an American. So it's very democratic that way. And I just want to see the art, and that's what I tell people, just show me the art, that's what I want to know. Now, once the art is selected and is in the gallery, I find that it is important to have some information from the artist about their motivation in making their piece. The history of it. It can be very difficult for artists to write statements like that, but because my husband and I are in the gallery every day, we are the artist representatives, so we are able to talk to people about the artists, their personality, their lives, what's going on, why they made that piece. If they have a CV and they want to share that, that's information too, but a lot of the people who walk into our art space aren't highly educated in art. There are a lot of people who are just walking by off the street. They're normal people. And to get them over that threshold and feel comfortable, you don't want them to think that they're going to have to know a lot about art to engage with the art that's there. So we keep it very simple where we are, and we find that when someone does connect with a piece of art, it typically is when they do have some information about the artist. Right now, with everything that's going on here in Europe politically, when we have artists who are from countries that are in the middle of war or in the middle of conflict, and they see that these artists are still creating, that has a strong impact on how that person connects with the art and the likelihood of them actually wanting to collect a piece. But anyway, that's our experience there. I know it could be different in some other galleries, but that's the experience we've had.
I love that, thank you. And Karin, so you place a strong emphasis on the joy of collecting and living with art. So does, for you, the artist background, again, financial part of the art, plays a significant role when you choose an artwork for your clients, maybe for people, as a person who helps to make collections? Is it something for you important? And when you personally, when you're in the shoes of a collector, does it something that influence your choice?
Well, it depends, I would say. Actually, I'm a very lucky person because working in the art scene means a lot of encountering very interesting people, artists, like real collectors, like gallerists, and people who are really not only working there, but they're living it. So this is for me personally very often, not always, but very often the first step. So I meet somebody, we get more involved, I go to the studio, I just start a dialogue with the artist, and that's obviously the privilege we all have sitting here surrounded by contemporary art, the privilege that you can connect somehow. I just saw a little documentation about Piero della Francesca. He's dead. Nobody really, or everybody can only connect through his work and through literature. But we all are so lucky that we can choose to find out more. Of course, it absolutely is not. How do I put it? It doesn't have to be this way. But for me personally, it's a chance. So the choose of an artwork is for me often like a kind of a memory also of an encounter, or of people like I lived with, I'm sharing somehow life with. So this is a little bit the Musée Sentimental. I don't know if somebody knows this exhibition concept. It's like showing history through very daily objects in the show. For me, the collection we have, or the artworks we are living with, is a little bit the other way around. It's a very personal musée sentimental because it's an artwork standing for something bigger, something more, and that's interesting. And it's also interesting when you live with it, you have connections starting from the walls, more or less, and sometimes you rearrange, and you or something new is coming, and then you kind of spend time with it and puzzling or putting a new puzzle together. So that's something beautiful, I would say.
Yeah, and talking, I cannot not ask you now. So you say that you're not a traditional collector, and what is that difference between the traditional collector and you?
Thanks for this question. The difference is, being around in the art world means, especially when working for the very high end, I would say, art market, a lot of money is involved, a lot of power is involved, and a lot of huge collectors are around. And we're talking about, like, more or less everybody knows who's traveling. You have the Pinot collection, you have Guggenheim, you have Lauder collection on an international basis. But of course in Berlin, I don't know who's from Berlin and who's living here for a long time, the very first collection was the Hoffmann collection. Actually, this was a very important moment for me personally. It was opened in Berlin and end of the 90s. It was a couple coming from the West Berlin, moving to the eastern part, and they did something really completely new. They opened their space. And they showed their collection. They not only lived with the collection, they showed it. And every Saturday or Sunday, you went through their apartment. Obviously, it wasn't small, but it was just beautiful. And you went through the kitchen, and you were sitting in the dining room with the guided tour. It was just really beautiful, I would say. And you have a lot of very great collections here in Berlin. You have the Boros collection, I can hardly recommend. You have the Haubro collection, actually I was working for in Berlin-Lichtenberg, very strong conceptual art, very focused conceptual art. And that's why I'm not very familiar saying I'm a collector, because I lived and I know what it is about. It's not only about spending money, but it's about sometimes a very radical way of living, of focusing, and of strategic collecting. That's all I'm not able, for what reasons ever, I'm not able to do. So this is something really, it's more like creating museums. My understanding of being a collector. And that's also what we all in Berlin really can appreciate. So that's basically the reason why. But this doesn't mean start collecting. I can only encourage to go through galleries, to go where, but we come to that point later.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, Lena, sorry if somebody wants to say thank you. Yeah, it's like clapping. So Lena, as a decorator, what do you prioritize for your clients when choosing an artwork for the interior? Is it more like colors and, I don't know, like the focus on which wall you need to put that, or is it something else, and maybe you have some other criteria that you usually have during this process?
Yeah, thank you for the question. Sometimes I get requests like, I don't know what to put on this wall because my carpet is like this style and my sofa is this style, and that's just not how it works. Like people are afraid to make mistakes choosing some art pieces to their interior, but it's not working like this. Yeah, it's also like art is first and interior is here, I would say second, because what I recommend my clients, you better focus on the mood you want to create, of the transformation you want to have in your apartment buying an art piece. Because like you some of us can have some similar interests, like with IKEA style, etc. But then buying an art piece, you can completely change it. You can completely change the mood of it, and that's the main question I ask and focus on.
Yeah, and I also think that art actually can bring real personality to the like more standard IKEA or maybe like rented apartments.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, and to show like maybe something what is inside, what you want to show to your guests and to think about every day. Yeah, I love that. And so to all of you, so considering BAAM is here to democratize art, to foster community, as we are here, like we can feel it, like the community of artists, community of collectors, of people who buy art, of curators. So do you think this helps to make the process of choosing and buying art different from more traditional ways, from galleries, when you come to the gallery and buy something, or when you go to the art fair and buy something? So what is it for you, for each of you?
Well, I think people in metropolitan cities like Berlin are very accustomed to the idea of going to a market, going to flea markets, antiquing, this kind of thing. So the very idea that market is in the name, number one, is very helpful in opening the door to the average person who does not see themselves as an art lover or art collector to be able to come in. What we find challenging in the gallery space is the very idea of a gallery can be prohibitive for some people to cross that threshold to walk in. We're always waving at people in the window, we have signs outside, the door could be open, and people can still feel awkward walking in. And having the Berlin Affordable Art Market, where it's in spaces that are very common to people who live in Berlin, especially club culture types, going into these spaces and seeing walls just filled with so much art and so many options, I think makes it really good for the artists to have gone through a curatorial and vetting process, but to be able to really share space with so much other talent here in Berlin. And for the visitors and the buyers, hopefully, you're able to really see the huge cross-section of art that's out there. And if you aren't going into galleries on a regular basis or not having time to go to the museums on the weekend, this is such a great way to experience this and to meet so many of the artists who are physically here too. So I loved the idea from day one, and Jose and Sofia do such an amazing job at this. I don't know how they're still standing afterwards. So thank you very much. Thank you.
Here's Jose and Sofia, the founders of BAAM, standing here. Yeah, that's who we are talking to also. Yeah, so we will have the next talk with them, so please feel free to join. Sorry, yeah, Karin.
No, absolutely. I just wanted to add, it's a wonderful niche, I would say, in the whole art scene here, and it's just a wonderful chance to see and to train your eye, I even would say, just to figure out, to explore firsthand, to figure out what you like, what you're attracted to in the sense of what touches you, and perhaps even what kind of technique you're interested in. And there's so much, that you have the whole range over there, and that's really great. I would even say use it as a wonderful starting point, but do not stop. BAAM is only twice a year, I would say, but there's so much more to explore in Berlin. Go to the open studios. There are a lot of artist studio blogs, even sponsored by the town around, and they have open studios. You have the UDK here, the university. They are doing Rundgänge, it's called, and just use this, and please do not be afraid of the white cube. Do not be Yeah, absolutely. I know how it feels. I mean, it's just like, it's not only for rich people. That's it. And they are not expecting only rich people. That's something I really want to add. It's just, you have really international artists exhibiting here in Berlin. It's such a great chance, and the galleries are playing a big role in the contemporary art, meaning giving artists not only a chance, but building careers. And that's also very important for the artists exhibiting here. They have to move on. So when you're moving on, they can move on too, right?
Yeah, I absolutely agree on this, and I think this is a win-win event both for visitors and for artists, because for common visitors it's not so easy to find anybody, to find artists, and you can't feel the same just on the screen of your laptop or your phone searching for new artists to buy something for your home. And as an interior decorator, I'm always very happy when when my clients already have some artist. Life is long. You probably will move somewhere, and art is what you can take with you to a new apartment. And once I also had a case when I created the whole area for like the whole space based on an art piece. It was very interesting experience. So I would say that the events like this, even if you don't or can't buy anything today, you can have ideas what to focus on, what you like, to have more comprehension how it works, yeah, and then next season, next year, it makes already easier for you to buy something.
Yeah, thank you. Actually, I talked yesterday with some people who came to BAAM, and some of them, they came to BAAM before, like once or twice or 3 times, and they didn't buy anything, but they get used to it, they loved it, and they were more prepared yesterday because they left the kids at home, they had their husbands on the phone waiting for them waiting for the photographs, so they just knew how to do it, and they were already prepared, and they knew where they want to put it, what they want to buy, and they were just waiting for this thing to click and to talk with them. And many people were saying like, oh, this artwork, it talks to me. It's just, I saw it and it talked to me and I took it, that's all. That's how it works. So, and coming up to the last question from me, maybe there would be more questions from your side. So, what's one piece of advice would you offer someone who come to BAAM and who came today also with a budget starting from 50 euros. So if you have just a 50 euros budget, or maybe up to 5,000 for sure, but with like not talking about some big budgets. So what would be the piece of advice from each of you?
So I won't be original, like I would say follow your heart. Sorry for the cliche, but it's just like that. And if you follow this advice for choosing anything for your apartment as well, then it automatically, naturally comes together and it will work. So don't be afraid, don't think too much, just follow your heart.
Not much to add, just try to connect and try to talk to the artist if he's around or she's around. Try to talk to the team and try to figure out where your heart belongs to stay in the image.
Well, I guess I'll have another cliche, which is that size doesn't matter. I've seen people walk into the gallery and there will be several different pieces by the same artist. There will be big pieces, medium-sized pieces, and small pieces. And they may be drawn to the big piece, and when they look at the price, they immediately feel hindered. You know, they don't have a big budget, they can't afford that. And they will most likely walk out the door because they're embarrassed about their budget. And you have to really point them to the fact that there are these other sizes by the same artists that cost less money. So what I tell people, if you're coming into a space like this and you may not be able to afford the piece that's 500 euro, but you can afford the piece that's 80 euro from the same artist, that artist is going to be very happy you bought that artwork. It's encouraging for them. It's helping the arts community. So don't feel bad about your budget or the fact that you can't buy the biggest piece of art that you saw, you're coming home with a print or something like that. If that's the piece that spoke to you and that's the piece that you can afford, get it. You'll be happy, you'll remember that moment you got it, and that artist is going to remember it too.
Thank you for being here and for attending this conversation. Thank you all. In case anybody has any questions, please feel free to ask. Yeah, okay, so thank you a lot. This was very valuable to understand and to go deep because, like, as a person who is initially not from the arts, I know for me it was very challenging to step up, to start buying art, to start looking at art in the galleries, also in these white cubes, but also even on the events like that, because I felt that I just don't know something special about it. I need some more clues. I need to know something else, and that's very helpful to know that actually it's more about feeling and emotions. And that's how even you, people with these backgrounds in the arts and in the interior design, you also, like, when you buy something for yourself, you follow the same advice and the same thing as people who is not from the arts and not from the around crowd. So thank you all for attending this, and yeah, we are waiting for you for the next talk. It will be at 3 p.m. So in 30 minutes with Sofia and Jose, we will talk about BAAM, about challenges now, about its mission, and about next steps, what we should wait from BAAM. And then at 4 o'clock, we also will talk with 3 BAAM artists about their current lives, actually, and their advice to buying art. And yeah, so if you want to come, please join. We will wait for you here. Thank you.